Yes, like the Eurobond, for example. Yeah.
Recently, you were accused.
Minister of Health and so on.
Recently, you were accused by some MPs from Jubilee of constantly receiving money from court governors. I remember you talking about it so vehemently, so that they get your endorsement in return. I'll just ask that question. Have you ever received any money, be it for air tickets or anything, from court governors? And they do this so that you can endorse them?
You see, Hussein, I have been in politics for many years before there was any devolution here. Okay? And I have never depended on those other people for funding.
Money.
Okay? So I do my things independently. But I mean, I give my technical advice to the county government, and for example, I give them exposures. I have, for example, taken them out of the country to go and expose them to other situations to see how devolution works, how the systems are managed. I've taken a number of our governors to the US, to India.
So when this happens, there's a budget.
But I pay my
okay.
They never pay.
Okay, I'll quote one of the the people you are with in the Second Liberation, Koigi Amwere. He wrote in his column about 3 weeks ago on this matter, when there was back and forth about corruption. He said, and I quote him, "If an audit of lifestyle is good for judges and public servants, it should also be good for all government and opposition leaders." He said, although we come from different backgrounds, many of us were detained just like Raila Odinga. Yet he is rich and we are poor. Why? That's what he asks.
I mean, I'm not Koigi Amwere. So, I mean, even before we were detained, we were not together with Koigi Amwere. But everybody, I mean, has his own ways of living. So, I really don't want to get involved with Koigi. The other time when I was a minister for roads, and I'd hired a contractor to tarmac my road into my compound in Karen. He took that matter to Parliament, saying that I was, being bribed. That contractor had never been awarded any contract. But I said, if you are a minister for roads, does it mean if you want to do a road to your home, you have to do it with your own hands? You must somewhere, you must hire a contractor. Okay.
I will go now. There's one more issue again about, and this talks about the doublespeak people are talking about when they accuse you of doublespeak in corruption. Earlier this year, the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament had to be reconstituted, still under court leadership, and then it was led by Budalangi MP Ababu Namwamba. He recorded you about what was going on then, on the, about claiming Defense Principal Secretary then, Mutiai Ringo, had given 1.5 million shillings to be shared out among 6 members, that's what he has said, of the committee to expunge his name from a report investigating confidential expenditure by the Office of the President. Now, in that recording, I mean, an MP was heard telling you that a PSC member met the senior civil servant first at his office and then later at a hotel in Nairobi, Hurlingham, and collected 1.5 million. Then, you also had saying, you didn't speak a lot, but when you talked, you said, all this problem stems from MPs, ODM and CORD MPs disorganization in the committee. All this leaked, I think, about a week or 2 later. Yet these are opposition MPs talking to you about something going on, corruption. Why didn't you find it necessary to talk about it? Why didn't you find it necessary to alert investigative agencies then about it? Because it was a big issue then, and PSC actually had to be reconstituted, and this matter is still being investigated by the EACC.
You see, that recording was in a very bad taste. Ababu himself was in a hot soup. So he looked for me at the place where I was meeting with some other people. And he came with this MP for Nakuru Town West, what's his name, Mr. What's his name? He wanted that MP to support him. And then they were talking about how people had been bribed
Yes.
left, right, and center.
Yes.
And because I told them that as ODM members, they need to be vigilant in the fight against corruption, and that all these things are happening because they are not organized.
But it was still corruption.
Yeah, but this is why they're not dealing with it. But that matter, you could call it still subjudice because it was still under the probe by the parliamentary committee team which had been set up by the speaker.
Yeah, the Powers and Privileges Committee.
Yeah.
But it's still corruption. I mean, the issue was because if you hear something about corruption, you normally are very quick to whistleblow about it.
Yes.
So the question is, why didn't you do on this one?
But this matter was now subjudice because it is a subject of investigations.
All right.
by Parliament.
Okay, I will read because we'll move away from these corruption issues now. I will read one final thing. You launched a master plan on 11th September 2012. Then you are the Prime Minister of Kenya. It was about water, and you said that the first phase was to sink wells in Kiunyu and Ruiru areas. The other phase, as you said, will see the construction of a tunnel diverting Irati, Giki and Maragua rivers, and the third phase will see Maragua and Arugu Dam built. And the water supply to the city was to be increased by 654,048 cubic meters daily. You said 160 billion was to be used, and you said actually the government has now embarked on bold steps to develop water sources that can meet the demands of the city and satellite towns up to 2035. That is what you said when you were the Prime Minister and launching this.
Oh, no.
But this is what you said recently. Let's have a look.
Acknowledgement, even by a regime desperate to be seen to be commissioning projects. This one is being executed in secrecy. It will be collecting water from the rivers at their source, in the Abadeas, and diverting the water to the Thikas Ndakaini Dam for use in Nairobi.
This you said was being done in secrecy. It's like something that needed to happen, and you're the one who launched this.
No. I mean, I did not launch this particular project. What I launched was a national master plan.
Which included the steps that I've just said, the phases, including this.
It's not this project. I launched the National Water Master Plan, and that needed to have a proper feasibility study done. At the time that we were talking, Hussein, no feasibility study had been done. No environmental impact assessment study had been carried out with regard to those projects. That needed to be done first before any project was commissioned. When that was done, it was found that that project was not viable, that it would cause serious havoc and disaster to that area.
Okay.
And the government then proceeded to move on and awarding the contract without...
This is recently?
Yes, exactly.
But then, so you're saying feasibility studies proved otherwise?
Yes.
So you launched without knowing that feasibility studies...
I did not launch. This is just a water master plan.
Yeah,
okay?
which
but that requires... which was basically prepared by the Ministry of Water.
Okay. We'll have to move on. We'll have to move on now. Finally, on the issue of to your politics and NASA, and lately been seeing you with Musalia Mudavadi and the like. Now, all the people you are seeing with now, Mudavadi, who accused you of being dictatorial in 2013 when he left ODM, 2012, I think. Kalonzo served in previous governments, also served with you as the vice president. In all these people that served, corruption was cited in all the governments they served. Not necessarily them, but there was corruption in the government. Again, Isaac Ruto is the one who spearheaded Kalenjin MP's rebellion in ODM, from ODM. And there's also talk of Gideon Moi. Do you really share any ideals with all these people? Gideon Moi, who is in KANU, that you have ridiculed several times, KANU that is. Do you really share any ideals with all these people, or is it just about removing Jubilee from power?
Hussein, they say that in politics there are no permanent enemies and permanent friends. There are interests in politics. That's why
Yeah.
you saw Nelson Mandela came out of prison and agreed to work with Mr. de Klerk, who represented the system that had put him in jail for 27 years.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And they formed a government of national unity with de Klerk.
Right.
And that ended the apartheid in South Africa.
Right.
So now, these people, of course, were Kenyans and politicians, and they had their reasons for disagreeing with me.
Okay.
In my political life, I have made many friends, and I've also made some enemies. That is natural, because people have got their own ambitions. And some people are saying, oh, Raila does not keep friends and so on. In politics, people have got ambitions.
So what is the agenda then? Because you're talking about
the other time, Musalia wanted to become president.
Yes.
Everybody wanted leadership, and so on. So it's obvious. Even Ruto wanted to become a leader in his own right. So therefore, he was perfectly justified in moving away from me.
Yes.
So, but what is bringing us together right now is a common purpose, that Jubilee has failed the people of this country. Jubilee has mismanaged Kenya like none other. You saw the other day John Githongo, who is our guru in anti-corruption, said that this is the most corrupt regime that Kenya has ever known since independence.
Okay.
Jubilee has cheated people in very many ways. You remember the promises which they made to the people of Kenya, and you saw the deputy president sitting next to you here yesterday and talking, saying lies, with a straight face.
In terms of what they've been
able to achieve.
But some is recorded, and with the documents they've even had, some I challenge him, but some it's recorded, like in terms of electricity, in terms of the roads they built, some are recorded, they've done something.
Just let me tell you about roads. I was minister for roads in my earlier incarnation. He was telling you that they've paved 6,000 kilometers of roads. 1,000 kilometers is Mombasa to Malaba. So what he's telling you is that they have tarmacked a road in the country equivalent to Mombasa to Malaba 6 times.
That is what is recorded. That is what was recorded, and actually saw that document. That is what was recorded.
You see what I have here. Called low volume sealed roads under the 10,000 kilometer Jubilee government. This I have from Ministry of Roads itself. It's county by county, and it totals up to 6,887 kilometers. But it's not done. This is what the plan.
Right.
But out of this, only 500 kilometers has been tendered, and out of that, only 50 kilometers has actually been tarmacked.
Okay.
So it is 0.005% of what they actually set out to do.
Okay.
So those tarmacs they're talking about exist in their imagination.
Okay. Like I said, the budget policy statement this year showed about 22,000 kilometers. But you're within your right. You're within your right to challenge that.
I mean, the tarmac 6,000 kilometers of roads is not a joke.
Okay. I will leave it at that. I will leave it at that. But first, again on the issue of this coalition, finally, the biggest challenge, and we have seen in so many coalitions, will be to choose the flag bearer. The last time we talked to you in an interview, you said you prefer a Raila Kalonzo ticket. Is that what you still prefer? You actually call it the winning team.
So I was telling you, when you interrupted me, that we are coming together to rid Kenya of this scourge that's called Jubilee, and that is the common denominator, which is bring people from disparate backgrounds to come together and form a formidable force to remove Jubilee from power. And this is going to happen. It's not just a hearsay. But then, doing this, we are expanding, and we are bringing more people together.
In the coalition.
In the coalition. And I'll say that it does not have to be Raila. It does not have to be Kalonzo.
So now you're saying...
It does not have to be rectangular.
Now you're saying you don't necessarily prefer Raila Kalonzo ticket?
No, I'm just saying it does not have to be us. We are going to come together as one people.
Okay.
And the Jubilee has been saying that, oh, we already know our candidate, Uhuru and Ruto and
yes.
so on. And I've just been telling them
yes.
they should not mind us. Let them mind their own business. What they need to be assured of is that there's going to be a formidable force that's
okay.
going to face them
okay.
in the coming elections.
Finally.
So let them be prepared and let them agree that we level the playing field so that the strongest will win.
Some have said this is a matter of life and death to you. Some have said, you're still very energetic, the way we see you and every place you go and still in your politics. But some have said, and you've heard this and you've talked about it as well, that this is your last bullet. How important is this to you?
It is not about me, Hussein. It's about Kenya. And someone is saying about one bullet. I mean, how can you go to a war with just one bullet? You're going to war, you must have several bullets. So I'm going into this with several bullets spare to shoot. And they're saying, oh, Raila is aged. I mean, Trump is my age mate.
Yes.
And he's just been elected president of a country 50 times bigger than Kenya. Okay? So it is the idea that somebody has which should actually convince the people to elect him.
Okay.
So I am ready to serve the people of Kenya if they have faith and confidence in me to serve them.
Okay, I'll give you the next 2 minutes or so to give us your winding comments. What do you want to tell Kenyans?
I want to tell Kenyans that in 2 days we are going to have Christmas, and we want Kenyans to enjoy their Christmas and New Year. And shortly we are going to be in the New Year, and this New Year is going to be very challenging for our people as we move in, because we are going into it with gloom, as Jubilee is actually casting very dark clouds in our political environment. It's going to be hard 7 months, but I want them to steel themselves for this coming contest. You know, it's going to be difficult, but I am confident that at the end, the will of the people of Kenya is going to prevail. Okay. So I wish them a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Right. And finally, there's a text here that I'd like to read, because it talks about the planned protest that you've called for mass action. And this is, I think, David from Kapsabet saying, should the ICC arrest or take action against anybody who plans pre-election violence, according to you? Certainly, if anybody who plans violence does not belong to Kenya. We should not plan violence. We must all abhor violence. Even if there's going to be mass action like demonstrations, let them be peaceful. Let the government not use the police like they did last time to shoot and kill innocent people. Okay. This is premeditated murder, which we don't want to see in our country. All right. And ICC, of course, will deal with things like those. All right. But we don't anticipate, we don't contemplate, we don't hope that, we don't wish that this should happen. There should be any violence at all. There should be no violence. Okay. Because ultimately, it is just an election. And I've been saying that I have nothing against Uhuru. Uhuru is like my younger brother. And I always wish him well. I would not wish him any harm at all. Okay. And that's why we are all very pained when he was going through what happened at the ICC and so on, and Ruto and so on. Okay. Ultimately, we are Kenyans, and that is why you can see me, I'm very forgiving. Remember, I forgave Nyayo, and even worked together with Nyayo, even though I had been in prison for 9 years under him. So I really want to wish that we establish a civilized way of engaging this country, that we institute democracy and in the country. So that, like you can see, in the US, they've just been through a very rigorous contest. But at the end of it, Hillary has congratulated Trump. All right. And life is continuing. Right. Honorable Raila Odinga, thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you with us, and thank you so much for making time
for us tonight. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sin.
Tomorrow we shift the focus on the